Hello people, I'm the ZodiacLord and I'm doing another video, I guess. And this time with something a little bit new because when do I ever not do anything new because I can't seem to stay consistently on one project for that long, but that's a story for another day. Oh goodness. So yeah, I am doing something, trying something a little bit new here, you know. I love redesigning characters. If anyone knows, I really do love redesigning characters. And I am going to actually talk about my design process when I was redesigning these. That's why this is a commentary. But before I do that, I'm just putting a little sketch montage for all the sketches. And I'm going to just talk about like why I'm doing this, how this came to be, all that. So if you're down to listen for that, you can stick around, but if you don't want to see the sketching phase or hear me talk, I'll put a timestamp to where the coloring phase actually starts, where I just talk about the redesigns. But yes, if you're still here though, so I love redesigning characters, obviously, as I already said. And I mean, I have a whole separate commission selection on when I do commissions that are specifically for character redesigns, where people pay me to do a full body redesign, like a full out redesign of their character, and they'll like request things to change, things to keep, whatever. And those are really fun, and I love doing those. However, one of my favorite things to do with redesigns is actually redesigning things that are either like not always poorly designed, but you know, they were kind of amateurly designed, you know? So it's not necessarily bad, it's just could be better. And I love doing those kinds of things. I just find those to be the most fun because they're usually the most challenging, especially whenever you challenge yourself to like not do a full out like scrap this character and make it something totally different. I think it's usually more fun when you challenge yourself to try and keep as much of that character intact as you possibly can and keep as much of that vibe of that character in as you can, rather than just changing the whole thing, because I do like seeing where a character started, and I like being able to see, you know, what they used to look like and stuff like that. So however, I love doing those, but usually whenever I get redesign commissions, it's usually not all that bad, usually. I mean, not that these are necessarily all bad, it's just, you know, they're usually already decently designed and it doesn't feel like as much of a challenge, which isn't a bad thing at all. I mean, it makes it easier for me, but I like having a little bit of a challenge. I like imagining characters, I like seeing old characters reimagined, that kind of thing. However, I didn't really want to go on a quest to find other people's characters and decide, oh, well, this looks cringy, let me just change it. I mean, I have my own opinion on that would probably be saved for a different kind of video, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But, you know, I personally just don't really like doing that without asking the person or having like the person say go ahead, you know, especially if I'm doing it because I think the character could be designed better. I just feel like I don't want to be that guy who's basically saying, look, I did it better. Like, I don't know. But, you know, so instead, I actually asked some lovely, lovely people on my Discord server to send me like one of their older, cringier, poorly designed characters, whether it be a fan character, whether it be an OC, whether it be a human, an animal, whatever. I asked them to send it to me, and I'd pick some, and I might make a video about it. So I got sent quite a few, and it was really fun to see them all. See the darkest depths of hell. But it was really fun to see all them, and I ended up picking 12. 12 that I didn't want to fit into one video, which is why this is going to be a bit of a three-part series. And they probably won't have this long little intro bit with the during the sketching phase. I just wanted to do it for this one to explain like why these are happening. Unless I can think of something I want to talk about, this will probably be the only one that does this. But so I picked 12, and so far they've been super fun, and I've super enjoyed doing it. And I mean, once they're all done, if I still like it and I still had a good time, I might do more. No promises, but I might consider it. But yes, so I had a whole lot of fun, and hopefully I will still have the same amount of fun finishing the other 8, but these are just the first 4 I did. I believe overall I got like, I picked most of them were humanoid, and I believe I picked 2 ponies, one cat, and then I also picked a Sonic character. Dun dun dun. But yeah, so these were really fun, and thank you all, like, to the people on Discord who offered their sacrifices to me for this little fun experiment that was, again, really fun for me to do. So yeah, and I will say, during this entire process, I basically kind of had a main rule for myself. That rule being that I wouldn't change the characters so much that you couldn't tell the resemblance between them, the new version, and the old version, or at least my version and the old version. Because to me, I like being able to, because I don't believe that anything is inherently bad. I think anything can work if done with the right combination of things, if done in the right light, whatever. So I wanted to make sure I didn't just totally redo the character entirely and change it so drastically it looks like a totally new character, whatever. I wanted to at least keep some vibe of the old character intact. And that's always my challenge when I redesign characters and things like that. So that part was really, really fun. And usually a lot of that you'll see it will come through with the colors more than the design, because usually colors are easier to save than design sometimes, but that's beside the point. And what was also interesting about these is that I didn't know anything about these characters other than what I visually saw. So, like, I don't know their backstories, I don't know their personalities if they have any, I don't know anything about these characters. All that I'm doing for these redesigns are purely subjective and purely based on aesthetic appearance and that kind of thing. So it's all just based on what I wanted to put on them, essentially. And usually if I was redesigning something, I would want to know what their character's supposed to be, so I can have the character and the design sort of coincide with one another. But obviously I didn't have those for these. But either way, I hope you enjoy this little mini series that I'm doing, and this is part 1, and I hope you like it. So with that out of the way, we're gonna go to the first design here. So this character was given to me by a child of fandom hell on my Discord server, and this was definitely a very fun one to start off with. It challenged me right away. So the first thing when I was looking at it, when I was thinking about what should probably be changed, honestly, the first thing that jumped out at me was the shirt. For all of my bipedal characters that I redesigned, I just made them half bodies as opposed to full bodies, just because there was already enough going on with the top usually. So the first thing that definitely jumped out to me was the top. In the original picture, when I was looking at it, I could tell that she had some tits, you know? So I could tell she definitely wasn't supposed to be like a middle schooler, but the way her top was designed, it looked very edgy middle schooler phase to me. Like, that's just kind of the vibe I got it with it, and I think that's because of the way the sleeves are, with that sort of like top strap, side strap kind of thing going on, and the fact that evil was written on the front of it. The top strap and the side strap, that to me just screams like a middle schooler type thing. It's like that kind of thing you wear with your shirt where it's like, ooh, it's so risque, I'm showing my shoulders, you know? At least that's how it was when I was growing up, but that's besides the point. But the other thing was also the fact that it had evil written on the front, which to me, that like immediately jumped out at me as that kind of thing where it's like you're wearing it because you're trying really hard to look cool, but you don't really look cool, and no one thinks you're evil when you wear that shirt, you know? Which isn't like an offense to if you think it does look cool, you know, that's totally subjective, but to me, I felt like for a character like this, it kind of looked immature in a way, you know? And I just felt like for this character, I wanted to really go for the punk rock kind of vibe she was already giving me. I mean, she already looks like she's supposed to be a high schooler or an adult or a college student, whatever. So I really wanted to just kind of go full force with the whole punk rocker kind of vibe sort of thing going on. And of course, she had seemingly pointy ears, so I kept the pointy ears, as you can see. Yeah, and so my sort of goal when I was doing this one was, for one thing, I wanted to fix the top. I wanted to change up the hair a little bit, just because this is something I noticed with a lot of kind of beginner designs. I've noticed they'll give them like a huge ponytail, but then they'll seem to have a shorter hairstyle detached from the ponytail. And I'm not talking about the bangs. I'm talking about like if you look, there's like on the side and the back of her head, it seems like she has shorter like neck length hair than plus a giant ponytail. And that to me, it's a little odd to have a ponytail but also shorter hair. So what I decided to do was I just kept it where you can see it's very tightly pulled back on the side. So she has her very scene, like emo-y bang thing going on, but she still has the huge ponytail. And I feel like it just makes the hair look a lot more clean and a lot more focused, you know? And then, of course, like I just, other than that with the hair, all I really did was kind of lighten up the gray. So it looked less like old woman gray and more silvery gray, you know? So that's all I did there. Another thing that I really wanted to do was that she already did kind of look punk rockery, but I really wanted to go like full force with that. So I gave her really like bold makeup going on. I gave her these like kind of really sassy looking nails that were painted purple and green. And I felt like that just those two little details, as well as some of the extra like piercings and jewelry, I felt like that just made her, it just really, I think it took her to another level just to really accentuate that vibe. The shirt, actually, what I did with that was kind of my favorite part, honestly. For one thing, for the shirt, the first thing I did was I lopped off the side sleeves, and I feel like that immediately made her look older and more mature in a sense, you know? So I just kind of lopped off those side sleeves. But I noticed that when I was looking at it, that the kind of like dripping that they had there, it kind of looked like fangs. So I'm like, ooh, what if I kept that? So it almost looks like she's got these jaws on her crop top. And so I honestly really liked that, and that was pretty fun. But I also didn't want to take evil totally out of it, because again, I wanted to keep as much as I could possibly keep. So rather than, I decided a way it would probably look a little bit more serious and a little less like I'm trying to be cool, was I gave her a tattoo where there's this bird and it has evil written on the top of it. And I felt like that just incorporated it in a way that was a little less like, oh, it's so on the nose, you know? It just kind of, I felt like it blended in a little bit better, you know? So this next one was given to me by Pythoness, who is also one of my lovely, lovely patrons, actually. And this one was really interesting and fun as well, especially because I was given a traditional sketch with no colors for the clothes. And Pyth did say, I believe, that this character was supposed to be a Tokyo Ghoul OC, I think, which I've never seen Tokyo Ghoul, so I did not at all design her in any way trying to make her a Tokyo Ghoul OC. I just designed her, again, on, like, purely aesthetic basis. So in a way, I guess I kind of just kept her looking kind of demon-y rather than anything else in specific. But this one was pretty fun. So I know that, like, right away, I was given a lot of freedom, obviously, because the top was very unfinished. So I really just kind of went back to the top and I just added more detail and a little bit more structure to it. I also gave her some really sassy villainous claws, because I mean, obviously you look at her and you're like, oh yes, this is a woman who means business, who's here to do evil things, you know. Just that's the kind of vibe, and I don't know why I like giving my malicious women like these very sassy, sharp fingernails, you know. So I definitely did that with her hand, and I had a good time. I think the biggest thing with this character was really the hair, honestly, because in the original design, it was a little bit strange because she seemed to have like these two pigtails, and I felt like if we're going for like a character who's wearing like a mini skirt and like fishnet legging type things, you know, I felt like pigtails was a little bit too childish, you know, and it just didn't feel like it fit for like a really like mwahaha kind of looking character, you know. But I didn't want to take away her having something on the top of her head. So rather than pigtails, I went for like this cool little thing where she has these buns and this almost like Leia-like loops in her hair that tie up in her buns. I just felt, and I mean, she was already supposed to be an anime character, so I'm like, hey, crazy hair. And I feel like just doing that, I think it just it made her look a little bit more villainous and a little less childish. It looks like her hair is more neat now and more structured, like she's taken time to look good and look evil. And I think I made the blue just a little bit darker than I think it was in the picture. And of course I gave her more villainy colors because if we're going for the full out villain vibe, we gotta go the whole 9 yards, you know. And of course for her eyes, I kept her eyes pretty much the same, with the blue and the red. I mean, those are pretty nice colors how it is next to each other. So yeah, that one was turned out pretty nice too, I'd say. This next one is honestly probably one of my favorites. This was given to me by sorry, my voice just stopped working there for a second. This one was given to me by Phantasmic Dream, and this one honestly was really, really fun. When I was looking at her, the first kind of impression I got was like, okay, fantasy character. The stitching implies that she's in a fantasy setting, living in a medieval world of some kind. I saw she was holding flowers, that she had this little satchel on her side, and something about her hair made me almost think of like a weird kind of beehive, you know? So I was looking at it, and it's sort of the idea that kind of processed in my head is like, what if she's this cool looking like dark elf like medieval nurse kind of lady, or like medieval healer physician bloodletter type thing. So that's the sort of vibe I immediately went with. This is probably the one that looks the most drastic compared to the old version, which is why I kept most of the colors as similar to the original as I could. But I honestly had a lot of fun with this one. I had her still holding flowers, to like sort of give the idea that she's like a herbalist, that she's like, you know, she has her own garden, and that's where she gets like stuff for medicine and things like that. For her hair, I basically I kind of cleaned it up. She had these two little loose strands and then all this stuff in the back. So what I ended up doing, since the back of it was so big, and again, I can't tell if that's supposed to be an art style thing or not, but I decided to roll with it anyway. I decided to keep a giant, like a volume to her hair, but have it more like a pin back styled hair rather than just really big hair that seems to curl at the ends, you know? Almost like kind of look tentacle-y, you know? And then since there were these two strands that really stuck out in the original picture that were just really like flowing in the wind all on their own, I decided, okay, I'll curl them more, and I'll make them these two really nice curls on the front of her face that fall down to her shoulders, and I felt like that looked really neat. And because of all the stitching in her clothes, I made sure I tried to keep her clothing have somewhat of a medieval vibe to it, with like the corset and like, you know, the inside shirt that she's wearing under her dress, or the inside dress, whatever it is, you know. And obviously I did change a lot when it comes to the clothes. So I decided I'd keep as much of the colors as possible. So I tried to keep so I kept the skin and I kept the hair, but I kept the sort of light pink and light blue, which looked really nice together, honestly. Like, I think the colors of those characters was like my favorite part about it. It's just a very pleasant to look at kind of color palette. It just looks very nice. And I wanted to keep that for her design. So I made sort of the top part of her outfit the pink, and then the bottom part blue. And then I made her corset sort of the brown, because she did have brown on her little satchel thing. So I'm like, okay, we'll have the main colors be like blue, white, pink, and brown. And I did use two kinds of browns just because I wanted, at least for just this picture, you know, I wanted the hands not to blend in with her corset since I wasn't shading these. So I just made them a lighter brown than the corset. And then, of course, I did keep her, I tried to keep, I didn't use the exact magenta color they used because it was just way too strong. So instead I just made it a little bit duller and a little less saturated for her eyes, and I just felt like that popped out really well with her, you know, because you have all these very pastel, very light colors, and then this very dark skin tone. And of course, I for some reason I love adding makeup on characters. Like, I just love doing that for some reason. That's definitely something I have with my like character design style. I just love adding like makeup to characters. I don't know why. Like, it can be any setting, any context. I just like adding eyeshadow and eyeliner and makeup and lipstick. on like all of my characters. I don't know why. It just looks nice to me, I guess, which is really weird because I don't wear makeup. I don't touch it unless I'm doing theater, I guess. But yeah, so, and then of course, as a final little touch, I made like the flowers the same color as her eyes just because I like that reoccurring trend of colors. But yeah, overall, I really love that one, and I really love how that one came out. And so, of course, we're going to end with a My Little Pony character. Woohoo! This is the first one of two that I got. This one was a pretty basic one, and I thought this was really interesting. I was actually hoping I would get some, like, My Little Pony characters and stuff like that, you know? So this one was given to me by Azuni Kato on my Discord server. And this one was definitely interesting. I could tell right away, obviously, she was made in the, like, My Little Pony character maker thing, which was interesting to me, because that told me that I had a little bit more freedom in a way, because obviously everything in that generator is pre-made and, like, you know, it can be copied onto a billion other characters. So I'm like, okay, I definitely need to go for making this hairstyle a little bit more unique. Another thing I definitely thought was like, okay, I need to make the colors work a little bit, be a bit more pleasant to look at because they're very, very strong right now. And then I felt like the cutie mark on the side, I felt like was a little bit, I felt like that color against that like base felt really, really strong, and I felt like it needed to be a slightly different color that was a little bit more subtle and a little bit more blended. I mean, that's kind of an issue I have with like normal My Little Pony cutie marks when I see them. It's just they're very jarring to look at. It looks like someone slapped a sticker on a horse's ass. Anyway, so I wanted to make that just blend a little bit more because that's just to my personal tastes, you know? And I also just felt like I wanted to give this character a little bit more visual oomph, you know, rather than being super basic. So with her hair, I went with like having these big curls and these big swirls, and I do like the idea that unicorns have like the tails that like have the sort of traditional kind of unicorn tails. So that's what I went with here, just because I felt like it'd be a little bit more fun, especially for what I was going for. And then I just added some really basic, like kind of just some basic like counter shading to her base colors just to make it a little bit more intriguing with the lighter pink and the darker pinks and whatever. And then for her hair, the biggest thing I just did was really desaturate it, honestly, because the original purples was, because the purple and pink don't really look bad against one another. It's just really bright. So I just made them really just made them a little bit lighter, and it made it a lot more pleasant to look at. And I did actually really like the blue eyes for this picture, because blue does go, like that light cyan blue does really go well with like pink and purple. So I really did like the eyes, and I gave her a little scarf for no other reason other than I felt like she needed something, and like scarves are my go-to. So, you know, I gave her a little bit of scarf going on. Just a pretty little scarf that just goes with the rest of her design. And so I did really have a lot of fun. I actually do really like doodling ponies. I don't watch like My Little Pony at all, but I do on occasion enjoy doing ponies, just because they're very simple, they're very fun to draw. There's something about like them that's really gestury and kind of fun, you know. So it is fun to do on occasion just for fun, and so I was glad to get like 2 in here for those. And then, of course, for the cutie mark, I just made them more like, I made the hearts look a bit more unique rather than just heart stamped on 3 times. I made them a little bit more swirly, and I made them blend in a little bit more with her design, you know, just for personal aesthetic reasons, you know. But yeah, so I like that one too. I think it came out good. So that's all these 4. And of course I have like 8 more that I still need to finish and record and edit and all that sort of thing. So you can expect more of these in the future. But overall, these have been super fun, and I really do enjoy doing these. Or I really did, at least, for these 4 specifically. And I might do more of these in the future. Don't hold your breaths, anybody, but these were really, really fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed them, and I hope you'll enjoy the other ones I do whenever I do them. So before I end it, however, look on that clock. Find a clock in your room, wherever it is. You see that time? You see that time on that clock? You know what that means. It's Patreon shout-out time. Well, howdy there. You seem new in town. You ever heard of the lone wolf? They call him the $2 tier plus patron. Oh yes they do, they say that everyone loves them too. But I'd bet you never heard of the sheriffs in this town, them $5 tier plus patrons. They go by the names Isabel GD, Gunmoon, Shadowcat Inc., Mick, and Starman. But you know who's really feared out here in the old West? Those $10 tier plus patrons. They say they have power levels of over $9, I'd say. Their names are rumors here, but they say their names are Pythoness, Hayden's Art, Nena Sprinkles, Twisted Disaster, Lorenth, Jago, Fema, Casual Vandal, Miss Mercutio, and Skyak 2. There's some dangerous cattle rustlers out there. Oh, this is so stupid. I'm TheZodiacLord. I'll see you in the next video, whatever it may be. Zodiac out. Yeehaw!